Hello guys, today we're going to be going over negative and positive externalities in 3 minutes or less. So the two main things we're going to be focusing on are positive externalities, negative externalities, and how the government affects those respectively. So when you're looking at a positive externality, think of a flu shot. Let's say that X people are getting their flu shots. That means those certain other people do not need to get their flu shots. So in a positive externality, it benefits society. What you want to think of is demand. You got your marginal, you got your marginal private benefit and marginal social benefit. These are going to be your two demand curves right here. And then you have your marginal social cost. Now, when you're thinking of marginal social benefit, because that's what you're looking for in a positive externality, you want to think of your marginal private benefit, which is this, and then the externality, or the gap between these two. And that is essentially just adding it up. And that's how you get your marginal social benefit. Um, in terms of a negative externality, you want to think of negative effect, negative benefits to society. Like, let's say you have a pollution source that is putting CO2 into the atmosphere. You're just a little house minding your own business when all of a sudden, oh, acid rain. That would be a negative externality. And when you're thinking of your negative externalities, you want to think of supply. You have two supply curves and you have one demand curve. You have your marginal private costs, your marginal social costs, and your marginal social benefit. When looking at a negative externality, you want to operate as a firm at the socially optimal point here. But in reality, you're not operating at that point. You're going to be operating at this actual point over here. And those are denoted by your Q and then your Q1. In terms for a positive externality, you want to be operating at your socially optimal point, which is MSB equals MSC. But in reality, you're operating at MPB equals Since we know that both firms operating at either a negative or positive externality do not actually operate at that socially optimal point, that's when the government needs to step in. And in order for the government to actually get to an optimal point, they'll use one of the following. For a negative externality, they can either regulate the pollution or they can tax the polluter. For a positive externality, the government can subsidize the goods. Now, there's a scenario where the government may or may not be needed. And in this case, two firms can come together and then agree with each other on based on these three things. One, property of ownership is clearly defined. And two, the number of people is small. And three, the Coase theorem. And this is essentially just people working together to come to an agreement. Thank you guys, and tune in for more next week, and we'll see how it goes.